Perseverance, a word which is usually associated with sports when a team needs to battle through a rough time in order to win the game. This word applies to so much more though, whether it be an everyday event, like toughing it out through history class without falling asleep, or something bigger, such as fighting through a major illness. By persevering through life's adversities, we are able to reach our goals, and most of the time, we learn something along the way. I learned the importance of perseverance through running. There has never been a moment in my life where I've wanted to give up more than during a race. When I reach the 1 mile mark and realize that I still have 2 miles left and am already tired, there doesn't seem to be much of a point in continuing. But then I realize I stepped onto the course because I wanted to, not because anyone made me, and there must be a reason for me to be out there. So I continue on despite my fatigue, chasing the sense of accomplishment that I know awaits me when I finish my race. Since perseverance is so important in everyday life, it is often written about in literature. An example of this can be found in The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. In this novel, the young Jay Gatsby is overwhelmed by the love he feels for Daisy. Despite having to leave for war, Gatsby's love for Daisy never fades, and he is destroyed when he returns to America to find that Daisy has moved on. Instead of giving up all hope for being with Daisy, Gatsby decides to fight on and do everything in his power to sweep Daisy off her feet. His persistence eventually pays off, for when he does reconnect with Daisy, she is overcome with the grandeur that is Gatsby. Even though Daisy was unable to fully return the love that Gatsby feels for her, what Gatsby does receive is far superior to anything he could have gained by moving on to the next woman who he could never love as much as he does Daisy. Another example of perseverance can be found in Toni Morrison's Beloved. Morrison depicts a young woman, Denver, who is stuck in a house where her reincarnated sister has completely taken over the life of her mother, Setha, who is slowly having the life sapped out of her. After being isolated for most of her life due to the previous actions of her mother, Denver is socially awkward and afraid of the judgment she believes people will pass on to her. However, knowing the fragile state her mother is in, Denver decides that she must go into town to find help. Denver presses on despite her apprehension and is able to find help for her mother. If Denver had let her fears control her and did not push through them, Setha may have died. By persevering through her anxiety of social judgment, Denver also discovers the townspeople are actually rather friendly and unlocks a whole new future for herself, full of social interaction instead of seclusion. In A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, the main character, Layla, is misled into marrying an older man, Rashid, shortly after the death of her parents. Layla must endure the strict control that Rashid keeps over her, as well as physical abuse. Layla is rewarded for her perseverance when the love of her life, Tariq, whom she thought was dead, returns. If Layla had not endured the cruelty of Rashid and had left the city, then Tariq may have never found her, and she would have had to live without her true love. Without perseverance, our lives would be meaningless and full of tragedy. This is best illustrated in the novel Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. In this novel, Janie jumps from husband to husband, tallying 3 in total by the end of the novel. Janie's life is also marked with a series of death and misfortune. If Janie was able to persevere through the differences she had with her husbands, instead of moving on to the next man, she never would have moved to Jacksonville and would have avoided the hurricane. Janie's lack of perseverance led her into the path of danger. Sometimes it is very difficult to keep pushing on, especially when no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to reach your goal. Over and over and over again you fall short, but then, suddenly, you make it. You reach your goal, and a sense of accomplishment washes over you. While it may be easy to give up on the first try, it is not necessarily the right choice. Without the will to fight on through life's roadblocks, in order to reach our goals, very little would be accomplished. Inventions would go undiscovered, cities would never be built, and humanity may cease to exist. However, when man forges on, through adversity, he is met with the pride of seeing his goals fulfilled, as well as humbled by the insight that he has gained into himself. This I believe.